Alright guys, Tactical Rap here back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and welcome to the 50,000 subscriber question and answer session here on the channel. It's been a long time since we did the last one. I think it was 10,000 subscribers way back in March of 2019. By the time I'm filming this, we're already at like 54k, well on the way, and if your question doesn't get answered today, then well, subscribing to the channel helps, because then we get to 100k and maybe we'll do another one there, but I'm sure we'll have to do something more special when that time finally does come around. But it's been a great journey. Thanks all for honestly all your questions. There were so many this time. It's tough to get through all of them. I won't be able to obviously answer every single one, and ones that were kind of similar, I try and found one that kind of well, touched on a number of different issues that you guys raised. Some personal stuff, some Call of Duty stuff, which is absolutely fantastic. It's nice to get to know you guys a little bit better. Of course, I try and interact as best I can in the comments and stuff, but a video like this, it's I think it's nice to do from time to time to get a little bit closer to those of you who, well, without you, this channel would not exist. So let's just dive into things then. First question comes in from Francis Allen. What's your favourite moment in COD history? Good first name that, Francis, because it's also my surname. So yeah, this is a good question. There's many that stand out to me. I think as a viewer watching from home, my favourite was Stage 1 playoffs of Infinite Warfare when Splice won. The team of Zero, Bance, Jerd and Madcat, of course, winning in the Game 5 round 11 up against the Luminosity team as it was at the time. That was just such a great moment to be a European COD fan for a couple of years, finally getting over the line of a big event, and all the storylines of the time where the European teams always choke at big moments, which they certainly still do, but this time it was like they were 5-2 up in the final map and it looked like it was going to go to a second best of 5, but the Spice guys clutched up. That was just a great moment to, well, be a UK fan and supporting that team. But certainly in terms of events I've been to, London 2019, being in that crowd in some of the key moments was just incredibly memorable, and also CDL Birmingham 2018 was the first event I went to. That was a different Splice team, this time in World War II. It was Tommy, Bance, Jerd and Madcat, I believe, as well. So Tommy for Zero at the time. Zero had probably gone to Red Reserve, I believe. And they had a match, I think it was the losers semi-finals against OpTic, and they were playing, it went all the way to a Game 5 round 11. I was doing some refereeing for that event for some of the games on the open bracket and such. And at that point, I'd finished, I didn't have to do anything else. And I was backstage right behind the Splice guys as they were playing. And it was just such a crazy series, and being in the crowd for that grand final as well was awesome. So yeah, when this whole pandemic stuff is over, I honestly can't wait for Lance to come back, and I'm sure we're going to meet some of you guys there, and maybe some people in some Tactical Rap merchandise as well. Samuel Colby asks, any COD players who have major beef with you, expose those DMs, Rab? So not really. I mean, maybe that it's true to a degree. I never really expected the pros to even like or watch any of my content, 'cause it's obviously not geared for them, and I know that probably some of them see videos that are maybe, well, they perceive as on more on the negative side, and they're obviously going to remember those more than the ones on the positive side. But yeah, I try and do my best. I know I have like a platform and I have to be responsible with how I use it, certainly, and I maybe don't always hit the mark perfectly, but I try and be a force for good in the community, and hopefully I've achieved that at the very least. But well, some pros don't always take so kindly to it. I remember at the start of, I believe it was Modern Warfare, Rated DM'd me and said I was slandering him in a couple of videos, and honestly I thought it was kind of entertaining. Maybe it was true, maybe it was, I'm not really sure, but I'm glad to see he's doing well now over at 100 Thieves. So yeah, not really too much beef, I believe, that goes on in the DMs, so not too much beef to report on outside of that. John Martinez asks, how do you explain your channel to your friends or family or a person you just met? This is honestly a really interesting question, because I think people hear that I make like gaming videos or whatever, and they just think, oh, this guy's just sitting there playing video games all day, achieving nothing with his life, which I hope isn't the case. But yeah, I usually say something of the sort of like, people understand what sports is, but they don't necessarily know like what esports is. You say esports, it kind of, people may have heard of it, but they're not really sure. Like it just sounds like, well, it is competitive gaming, right? So there's obviously that connotation that goes along with it from someone who isn't like involved into the scene. So I usually say something along the lines of like a sports news, an independent sports news reporter to someone who has no idea. And then obviously maybe if they know a little bit more, you can talk about esports and how it works, and the fact that it's on YouTube, obviously, which is a little bit separate to other things. But I think it's really cool. I'm obviously super grateful to be able to do what I do day in, day out as like a job, which is incredible. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes time here with some of these other questions that were asked. Ryan C asks, what are you studying? Are you hoping to have a career in esports? Now, a few questions along these lines, so I'll just kind of deal with this one as the overarching one. I study a course called Management at the University of Bath. It's effectively business management type stuff, and I finish very soon indeed. A couple of months from when I'm recording this, I'll have pretty much graduated, and I'm in my final final year now, and it's an interesting question whether I'm happy I came to university or not. I certainly think I am. I think if you guys are, well, younger and kind of deciding whether you want to, I think the thing that I would highly recommend is doing a placement year. I don't know how much of this is a thing in the US, but effectively I've done a course which is called a sandwich course, where you study for 2 years, then you do a year in industry, so you work at a company, and then you come back for your final year. And I gained so much value out of that year in industry to figure out, like, what I liked about that job, what I didn't like about it, the fact that I didn't want to go back and work. The place I worked at Intel Corporation, you guys probably know, but I didn't want to go back there, and I didn't like the fact that you were such a small fish in a massive pond in that sense. And it very much inspired me towards the end of those few months to try and find something that I can do on my own terms, if that makes sense. So that really, that really taught me a lot about like what I want to do in the future, and kind of showed that, all right, well, if I can try and make this YouTube thing work, then that's exactly what I want to do compared to being in this kind of normal working environment. So much learning experience that I took away from that I would 100% recommend, even if the stuff I've actually learned at university might not be so useful, right? And well, that's the question. Am I hoping to have a career in esports? Certainly that is the case. I'm incredibly lucky to be able to do this as an income. My plan is, well, after university finishes, of course, keep doing what I'm doing here on the channel, do some more interviews, do some more documentaries. You guys, I'm sure, well, hopefully you enjoyed if you've seen the Scump and Crimsix one and some other ones I've done. And also Breaking Point, right? If you guys don't know about Breaking Point, it's this site that me, aBeZy, with a few other co-founders around the scene have started up back in October now. And well, honestly, I think it's looking pretty good. We're growing in the right direction. I'll be putting more time into making that hopefully a great success within the COD scene. And well, that's the plan for me after I finish university. There is also the question, like, what do you do after that, right? Are you hoping to be a caster? Are you hoping to be, hoping to work for the league or something? And look, of course, I don't want to take any options off the table. I think at some point I would love to move to the States and working around where everyone is right now. But I do love the independent aspect of what I do. Like, if I worked for the league, there would be, I think, like, Zoom has raised similar questions recently. The fact that, okay, if he was on the league, then you have to be more restrictive in what you say. It's the same thing for working for like a team as well. Like, if I was to do news or something for a team, then it's like, well, there's questions as to whether, you can say, and with the freedom that you did say before, which is, why I've always kind of had questions about that. Of course, at the end of the day, like, if Hex rings me up tomorrow and says, look, we want you to fly out to Frisco and join OpTic, I'd be an idiot to say no, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. And so much has changed in the last 12 months that so much could change in my, well, thought process and intentions in the next 12 months as well. But yeah, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing for now, and hopefully get even better as well. Hopefully you guys will appreciate. Big Bill Bernard Buckley asks, what's your opinion on my opinion that I think you should start a second channel? Viewers cannot get enough of tactical rap. Viewership is booming and it cannot be contained. An extra channel could be used for top 5 moments, week in the life vlogs, food recommendations, and opinions about cards. Food recommendations I'll have to do at some point. But yeah, well, there was another channel actually, if you guys weren't aware of it, called Tactical Rap Gaming. It's like the videos that I used to make when this channel first came out. I'm sure none of you guys have ever watched them, but way back in the day, I used to make videos like gameplay breakdown type stuff. And effectively it's just me playing the game. I'll put any old gameplay up there if I think it's pretty entertaining, so I'll leave that link down below if you guys would like to check it out. And well, there's some nice gameplays. I'll probably do like maybe once a week or something once I finish university on that channel. I'm not intending for it to be anything. It's just a fun place to put some videos, and maybe I'll do some other type of content, not just gaming stuff, over that channel at some point. Well, different type of stuff to what obviously we do on this main channel on a regular basis. I also had a few questions about like have I ever like aspired to be a professional player, so I'll probably touch on this now. I don't really think I have, but back in Black Ops 3 in like 2015, there was a summer there. This is actually it came out in 2015, so 2016, it would have been summer 2016. We put a team together, myself, Kieran, Seb, and Tremor, of course, and we were grinding, playing like all summer on Black Ops 3 on that game, like scrimming every day. We at least got relatively solid at the game. We won like an EGL tournament towards the end of the summer, and then, I kind of realized like I never knew I was that good at the game. That was a really fun time to be playing though, and I don't really think I ever had particular aspirations to be a professional player, but it did help me kind of fall in love with the game and fall in love with COD esports in that sense, and therefore I was looking for another way to get involved in the scene, and that's kind of what sparked this whole journey that we've been on this channel the last couple of years. Christian Higgins asks, you did that interview with Envoy, would you want to do more interviews in the future? Certainly, absolutely, this is the case. I've wanted to do a couple more, but scheduling things is always a challenge, and the regular content has just been doing so incredibly well as of late that it just made sense for me to continue in that direction. But as I said earlier, once university is finished, then I'll certainly be ramping up the interviews again, hopefully doing like once once a month or something in that ballpark, and then during the off season, like doing a lot more than that with any luck. Alfredo asks, how much time do you dedicate towards recording, editing, uploading your videos on a weekly basis? So yeah, this is a really interesting question. I usually wake up at about 8 and I do the videos in the morning. So I batch record the videos on days that aren't league match days. So if there's 2 videos that come out at the normal times they come out, I'll get up in the morning, I'll do the last bits of preparation, because usually I try and prepare as much as I can for the videos the night before, but often I have to add some things or come up with a new idea or something, or whatever happens to happen. So I usually do that from like 8:30 to maybe 9:30. Then I record the videos ideally at 9:30 until 10, and then I'll like edit them over the next couple of hours, and by midday the videos are basically done and ready to go, except on a league day where I just do one in the morning and then one after the matches finish later in the evening. But you know, I don't even think of it too much as work. Like, it's probably like 20-30 hours a week or something in that ballpark, but at the end of the day, it's such a hobby. Like, I would keep up with this stuff anyway. It doesn't really feel too much like work, which is why well, it's so awesome to be able to do this. Luke Gamson asks, in your 10k video you said you didn't see yourself doing this YouTube thing full time. Now you're at 50k, has that changed at all? I'm certainly lucky enough to be able to make effectively a full-time income from YouTube at the moment, which is incredible. It's never something that I thought would be even possible, to be honest, when I started this channel, and that's what if you guys are looking to get into something similar, you've really got to be passionate about what you do to make it work in the long term, because if you're not passionate initially, you're not going to get through those hurdles where you're not making any money, and it takes a long time to get to the point where you can actually, you know, at the time when I made the 10k video, it was bringing in like enough money a month to kind of prop up my rent and stuff like this, but nothing particularly more than that. But now things are obviously a lot different. So yes, I would say that if you're wanting to get into YouTube or something, just well, the number one priority is that you're actually passionate about what you do, and the rewards always come secondary. Brants402 asks, how do you manage to upload consistency 2 videos every single day? So, well, I kind of talked about exactly the schedule earlier, but there was a book I read, I think it's called Deep Work by a guy called Cal Newport, and he talks about this concept of fixed schedule productivity, and I was kind of doing this already with the videos, and I've now started to implement it to other things like university, and it really helps. So the idea is that you simply set a deadline for when you're going to achieve something by, and then you just stick to the deadline. So for me, I have lunch at 12, like I do this like intermittent fasting thing, right? So I don't eat breakfast, I just have lunch at 12 and dinner at like before 8, and I just eat between those 8 hours effectively. So what I want to make sure is that my videos are done and ready to go before I've had lunch, and that's at 12. So I make sure that everything related to my videos is done every single day by 12, and by setting that kind of deadline, it means that well, you know, I get up early, it kind of gets me into good habits in that sense. Like consistency is everything, but a lot of it just comes down to your habits, right? Like if you're habitually getting up at the same time every day, you're doing the same type of stuff, you've got that routine like ingrained into you. Like I've uploaded maybe for 600 and I think it's like 630 days in a row now since I last missed an upload day. The key is not just to do it once, but is to try and become the type of person who can do that again and again, and that generally means good habits. Once you've done 2 videos in a day for like 300 days, then well, you're not going to get stopped doing the 301st day in a row, right? So that's kind of the idea. Mark asks, who's a player you would like to see get a ring who hasn't got one already? This is a great question. I think there's a few that come to mind, because there's a few players that have come, well, second place at champs a couple of times. You've got like Kenny, for example, on TK and then 100 Thieves. Priestahh did it as well on, well, 100 Thieves, and last year on the FaZe team. Enable as well has got very close. I think Octane is a great mention as well, because he's been such a great player. Like, well, he's one of the best personalities I think that we have in the scene, and well, the fact that he hasn't quite got over the line, and was pretty unfortunate on that 100 Thieves squad, let's say, in Black Ops 4. So I think Kenny, Octane especially would be kind of 2 go-tos for me. Brighton Cants asks, who are your top 3 favourite players to watch throughout all time? Now, when I got back into COD back in Black Ops 3, my favourite player to watch was Octane, because on that team I mentioned earlier, I was like the main assault rifle for the team. I'd always be the guy posting up, the guy anchoring, and Octane made such great YouTube videos at the time on like how to anchor on certain maps. Teams don't tend to do this type of thing anymore, because well, other teams will look at what they do and take a note and all this type of stuff. But yeah, he was definitely my favourite player to watch at that time, because I learned so much from how he played the game and his playstyle and where he would post up in terms of anchor positions. I think Karma as well, like when I was really getting into the season around Black Ops 3, so I didn't really explain this, but when I kind of got into COD, was the first COD event I watched actually was way back in Black Ops 2. I think maybe that's a question in a second, but I really kind of fell out of it until Black Ops 3, where I got back in watching the Pro League at the time, and then I really got into watching like Twitch streams and stuff, like Karma and the OpTic guys would stream all the time, and Karma was such a great player to watch as well, because like the way he played around the map, the way he moved around, the intelligent decisions he would make was just so well. I thought he was a great player to watch. And also Jerd, I think, deserves an honorable mention. He's one of the most exciting SMG players to watch of all time, I think, when he's when he's on form. Alpha Whale asks, what is something you wish you knew when you were starting YouTube? There's not something like specific I would say that I wish I knew, but I just think you learn so many things by being super consistent with it. I think there's one thing that's really come to the fore these last couple of months, or maybe really couple of, well, I don't know, 6 months or so, is that the importance of titles and thumbnails is by far and away the most important thing on YouTube right now. Like YouTube, all YouTube wants you to do is get people to click on your video, watch it for a fair amount of time, and that's pretty much all you've got to do, and therefore they make money, you make money, the world goes round as a result. So, I pretty much can guarantee that a guy like Mr. Beast, when he makes his videos, he doesn't think about how he's going to make the video first. He thinks about what's the title going to be, what's the thumbnail going to be, and probably those two things almost come at first. I'd say that's a pretty likely thing. For my videos, that's not always the case, but when I've been thinking about making documentaries and such, it's not necessarily about, okay, what's the best storyline? It's, what's the best storyline I can put into a title and a thumbnail, which is going to make people to click. And when you look at YouTube through that lens, then you will find ideas that really resonate and people actually want to click on, as opposed to just finding storylines that might be great but you can't really turn into something which people are actually going to watch. You Gamer asks, why did you start making videos like that? Why are you doing them the way that you are? No one else does videos like that. So initially it was Rondes Fox, right, who did these videos, maybe not exactly like this, of course, because initially he would just kind of discuss roster changes and this type of stuff, but he made these videos a couple of years ago now, and also it was Thorin as well who was doing this type of stuff over in Counter-Strike, and he would just sit in front of a camera, and I was so impressed he could just sit in front of a camera and natter away at it for like 40 minutes and make all his points and doing it in a very witty manner, and I was like, okay, I might as well give this a go. So I made the first video on the matter regarding, it was the Black Ops 4 beta actually. I just made a video, chucked it up on Reddit, it did kind of well, and over time, of course, this channel's evolved into like news, drama type stuff when it is available to do so, and I think esports talk as well has had a major impact, like Jake and the guys over there, when they were really killing it back in maybe April, pretty much this time last year. I really had to realize, okay, like I've got to get my stuff in order here, I've got to up my game and lean maybe into that more side of the content, and I think certainly their influence was a major part of how this channel has become so successful these last few months, because it motivated me a lot to get better. Jacob asks, when did you get into the COD comp scene and start to make content on it? What was the first match you ever watched? So the first game I ever watched, I'm pretty sure, was the Black Ops 2 World Championship Grand Final. I do remember watching, it was Killer versus Proof, of course, the 1v1 in the game 11 of that, Meltdown, Search and Destroy, Freako Impact versus Team Envy, crazy grand final way back in 2013. But after that, I didn't really watch anything. I didn't really watch any competitive Call of Duty and Ghosts. I played the games, but I didn't really play Ghosts that much. I pretty much just went back to Black Ops 2 until Black Ops 3 came out, almost. Didn't really even play much Advanced Warfare until later on in the title. And I watched a little bit, I think, of Ghosts, actually. I do remember a couple of events. I didn't watch, like, any of Advanced Warfare, though. And then Black Ops 3 came around, and I was at college, and I used to come home from college, and Momo and Machine would be casting the Black Ops 2 Pro League at home. And it was just great. Like, it was such an easy thing to watch. It helped me really get back into the scene. And then in World War II, I started with a few other guys making this weekly recap post on the COD competitive subreddit. Eventually, that did pretty well. We eventually turned that into, I started writing some voluntary articles for a publication called The Game House. And then, I then started making some YouTube videos at the end of 2018, and it's kind of evolved from there. So it's been kind of a crazy and long journey, but you've got to start from the point, I think, of being willing to do things that you're passionate about voluntarily, and then, it might turn into something spectacular. Sam Taylor asks, I remember your last Q&A, you said your favourite team was Reciprocity. Do you still favour the local lads, or is their poor form in the league these last couple of seasons a deterrent? I think my favourite team is probably still London. I think Zed on the team especially, like, he's just such a great stand-up guy. I think great bunch of blokes, to be honest, over at that team. If I had to look at North American teams, of course, as I said earlier, like, I was a Splice fan back in the day when they won, so certainly I still like European Call of Duty to do well, UK Call of Duty especially. It's nice to see Toronto do, well, when they do decent, it's nice to see the guys in that team doing decent as well. But in terms of North American teams, I really like the trio on the Dallas Empire. Like, Crimsix is such an entertainer, like, I don't know, he's such a diva at times, but he's certainly an entertaining one to keep your eyes on. And then Huke, Shotzzy, I think they just have such great chemistry, their vibes are really good, so I really enjoy that team. I think Clayster as well, like, I always kind of want to see Clayster do well. He's such a legend in the scene, and he deserves so much respect, honestly, for what he's achieved, that I'm I'm always kind of rooting for Clayster to do well, and Asim on that team as well now. You know, that New York squad just has great vibes. Texas Formal asks, who do you think is the best player of all time? So there's two ways, you know, there's two ways always to answer this. The best, if you're looking at from the highly skilled player angle, I think has to be Scump. In terms of who has like the highest skill ceiling, the player who's been the best at the most number of games. You could even argue like Simp in the last couple of years, but of course of all time, Simp isn't quite yet in that conversation. But given another 5 years, you know, you've got to be asking questions here. But yeah, certainly I think Scump, like from way back in Black Ops 1, where he was considered one of the very best players. Black Ops 2 was like up there, top 5, top 10, people would argue as well. Then into like Black Ops 3 Advanced Warfare, when he was like the best player in the game for pretty much the entirety of the season. So I think Scump in terms of individual ability, but in terms of championships won, you've got to give it to Crimsix, right? In terms of the most accomplishments, the greatest player ever, I think it's got to be Crimsix. The best player ever is probably Scump. But yeah, Crim done it for the longest time, winning the champs last year, even though it was online. I think that kind of cemented it to me that like this guy, you know, you just can't mess with him. He's you know, you got to respect it. He knows how to win better than anyone else. Anakin Skywalker asks, favorite film? A little bit of a different question right here. And well, it's kind of difficult to come up with a single answer. The one I would go for just off the top of my head is The Departed by Martin Scorsese. It's got such a great cast in that film. It's honestly, every time I watch it, it's like well, it's kind of a crime thriller type movie. If you guys have seen it, you'll know it's absolutely fantastic. And well, I'd highly recommend you guys watch it if you haven't already. It's well, it's an absolute banger. So the final question of the episode, Cam McKay asked, if you had to stop covering COD and move to another esport, which would you choose? This is a really interesting question. It is a tough question because it's the personalities in the COD scene which I think make a lot of people entertained by it, and why I also follow the scene to start with. So I couldn't quite easily go into another game and do the same thing without being quite as in tune with you know, entertaining personalities the Call of Duty has. Yeah, if I was looking for something, if I was looking purely from like a financial perspective, I might consider something like Valorant, right? It seems to be relatively new on the up in terms of that, and there seems to be some drama around it certainly. So I think that Valorant might not be the worst shout in the world. Counter-Strike has always been the other one I've thought about, but I've kind of fallen out with love with Counter-Strike the last couple of years. It's been somewhat more difficult to follow, I think. But hopefully that won't be the case and we can keep doing COD into the long distance future. But there we go then. That's going to do it for today. Thanks all for all your questions. Yeah, 50,000 subscribers, unbelievable scenes. We're, well, continuing onwards and upwards over the future. And of course, when we get to, well, 100k, we'll have to do something certainly very special then. But thanks for watching as always. Well, like if you guys enjoyed the video, all that good stuff. Take care, and I will see you next time.